Over the course of its recently completed airing, I've seen a lot of discussion and speculation about the far future post-apocalyptic setting of Girls' Last Tour. In some ways, the setting begs to be broken down and analyzed, its minor details dissected and laid out anatomically. From the sprawling multi-layered city through which the girls make their journey, to the last remnants of its war-ridden history, to whatever that cat, mushroom, slippery tube toy from the dollar store thing is supposed to be. There's plenty of lore to take in and minutiae to consider. However, as much as I love that kind of speculation, I feel like in the case of this series that to pick apart the setting to such an extent is to miss the forest for the trees. First, let's get something straight. The setting of Girls' Last Tour is not actually all that realistic, and that's totally fine. In fact, I would be more disappointed if such a distinct setting didn't try to stretch my imagination. I'm just saying that strict realism isn't the main concern of the story being told here. For instance, the show makes little attempt to consider the actual survival element of living in a post-apocalyptic world. Natural hazards like disease, serious injury, hypothermia, and improper nutrition are rarely touched upon. The show is concerned with realism just enough so as to have the audience feel like the story makes sense on a basic level. Of course, the girls have to find a way to eat, sleep, and refuel. Otherwise, how could they even get by? As for the world itself, there are many questions to be asked that are left intentionally vague. What's up with the structure of the city? How does everything fit into the timeline? What caused the supposed mass extinction of all life except humans? How is so much machinery and infrastructure still in such good working condition? Seriously, what even happened in like the entire last episode? These things could all be explained, but not only would it be pointless, I'd even argue that it would actually detract from the show's world building, which takes full advantage of its ambiguity. The unknowable nature of the world around our protagonist ties into a major theme of the last couple of episodes. The girls know little about the past and can't predict the future. Thus, they can only live in the present and take life one step at a time. They interpret the world around them as best they can, but without the context of human culture, their perspective is skewed. In a life where living itself is the goal, practicality is the be-all and end-all. As Yuri and Nuko would put it, edible things can be eaten, things I can't eat don't have value. Where we see weapons of death and destruction and remnants of an inevitably self-annihilating society, the girls see only junk whose meaning has been lost to time. The series takes full advantage of this difference in perception, using things we're familiar with and warping them in unfamiliar ways. Although it's all an enigma to Chi and Yu, as viewers, we can spot clues that hint at a world that has far more depth to it than just what is shown to us on screen. This disconnect between these different perspectives in-universe and out actually draws us deeper into the immersion of the story. Essentially, this is the concept of show, don't tell, done right. Now let's take a step back for a moment and compare Girls' Last Tour to the prior season's sleeper hit, Made in Abyss. Following Made in Abyss's exceptional success, some fans saw the premise of Girls' Last Tour and felt right at home, but were they right to expect something similar? Both series feature a cast of cute young characters on an adventure through a dark and fantastical world. However, besides those superficial similarities, the two are very different in intention. The point of Made in Abyss is the act itself of exploring the abyss. The story's central intrigue is the mystery of the abyss and what horrors lie in wait the deeper and deeper the heroes delve. The world of Girls' Last Tour is fascinating in its own right, but the protagonists aren't looking to understand it, they just live in it. The world is a shell whose purpose is to deliver the philosophical message of the series. Not to discredit a more metaphorical interpretation of Made in Abyss, but unlike in Girls' Last Tour, Made in Abyss's titular abyss isn't just the setting, it's the main character too. Just as their titles would imply, Made in Abyss is ultimately about the destination. Girls' Last Tour, on the other hand, is about the journey. I also want to point out how effectively the visual design work in Girls' Last Tour adds to the setting's atmosphere and the series' purpose. The cityscape that we see glimpses of throughout the show is dreamlike and surreal, even more so in the manga, where Tsukumizu's wild, sketchy lines and excellent use of contrast and geometry give the backgrounds an almost impalpable, abstract look. The architecture is meant to evoke a sense of mystery and grandeur rather than serve any imaginably practical purpose most of the time. The same goes for stuff like the designs of the service robots, with their spindly legs and shape oddly reminiscent of old IBM computers, and the nonsensically angular, broken-down tank that sheltered the girls from the rain in Episode 5. The overall visual design of the series helps reinforce the idea that the setting acts as a framework through which the series' themes can be delivered rather than something that should be taken completely literally. In saying all this, I don't mean to overlook the amount of imagination and creativity put into the setting of the series, or say that you're wrong for wanting to know more about it, mainly because I'm just as curious myself. Girls' Last Tour has a beautiful and intriguing setting which is a vital part of its overall appeal. It's just not what the show is actually about. Girls' Last Tour is about the wonder of the journey, finding beauty, hope, and companionship in a world that's left you behind, coming to peace with the inevitable while still moving forward, living for the sake of living, and most importantly, cute potatoes doing cute things. Focusing too much on realism and the specific details of the setting would take away from these themes and also hurt the comfy, melancholic yet healing atmosphere that the series creates. Thanks for watching, everyone. This is my first time doing this kind of analysis video, so if you have any kind of suggestions, constructive criticism, or harsh, angry vitriol, I'd love to see your feedback in the comments below. And if you want to see more from me, feel free to subscribe, and I may put out another video sometime in the next century. Take it easy, and see you next time.